He'd say things like, "You're cute," when you're clueless. Or, "That's just Cindy being Cindy," always dramatic. And she'd laugh, because she thought that's what love was. But sometimes, pain wears a smile. Cindy always believed love was about growth. She wasn't naive, at least not in the way people use that word. She had her own apartment, paid her own bills, kept a journal with goals and deadlines. She read self-help books and believed in becoming the best version of herself. And then came Mark. He was charming in the kind of way that didn't try too hard. He wasn't flashy, but when he looked at you, it felt like you were the only person in the room. Their first conversations weren't surface level. He asked about her childhood, her fears, her dreams. He remembered the little things, like how she only drank iced coffee, even in the middle of winter, and how she was obsessed with old soul music. So when they started dating, Cindy thought she had found her person. At first, it was playful. Mark would tease her about how long it took her to get ready. "Come on, what are you doing in there? Rebuilding your face from scratch?" She'd roll her eyes, laugh, and throw a pillow at him. It felt normal, light. But slowly, something shifted. The jokes got sharper. He started calling her extra. When she'd get excited about something, like landing a new freelance client or finding the perfect thrift store chair, he'd smirk and say, "You're always overreacting. It's just a chair, Cindy." He'd joke in front of friends, "Don't mind Cindy. She has this thing where she thinks she's right even when she's not." Everyone would laugh. She would too. Because what else do? You don't want to be that girl, the one who can't take a joke. She told herself it was his sense of humor, that maybe she was just being too sensitive. After all, no one else seemed bothered. And Mark always followed it up with a kiss on the forehead, or, "You know I love you, right?" But there was something unsettling in how often she started questioning herself. Was she being dramatic? Was she really as needy as he made her feel? Was she too emotional? Too opinionated? The more she tried to shrink those parts of herself, the more lost she became. One day, while at a dinner party, Cindy started telling a story about her childhood. Something about her and her sister pretending to run a bakery with mud pies and plastic spoons. People smiled. It was sweet, innocent. Mark chimed in, laughing. "See, I told you, Cindy's been making up stories since she was 5. Then added, "She's kind of a drama queen. You get used to it." Something inside her cracked. She smiled, of course, but she heard the silence in her own laugh. She felt the heat rise in her cheeks, not the good kind. That night, she asked him gently, "Why do you say those things about me in front of people?" Mark looked confused. "It's just a joke. You're too sensitive. You need to lighten up." That phrase, "you're too sensitive," it landed like a brick. Over time, Cindy began avoiding her favorite things. She stopped journaling, worried Mark would find it and mock her thoughts. She stopped sharing her wins at work. He'd find a way to downplay them. Even her wardrobe changed. Muted tones, nothing too much, nothing that would give him more material to use, to tease. Her friends noticed. "Are you okay?" Her best friend Tasha once asked. "You don't seem like yourself lately." Cindy forced a smile. "I'm just tired. Work's been a lot." But the truth was, she missed herself. One evening, while helping Mark clean up after dinner, she knocked over a glass. It shattered. She immediately started apologizing, bending down to pick up the shards. Mark just stood there and sighed. "Of course, you always mess something up." It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. But it was the first time she didn't laugh. She just looked up at him and said, "Why do you talk to me like that?" He blinked. "What are you talking about?" That tone, that phrase. "Why do you speak to me like I'm less?" Mark rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic again." But this time, Cindy didn't shrink. She stood up. And for the first time in their relationship, she said nothing. No apology, no laughter, no justifying, just silence. That night, Cindy wrote again in her journal. She hadn't touched it in months. And the first thing she wrote was, the first red flag was laughter. And the last straw was silence. She didn't leave right away. Emotional manipulation doesn't untangle itself in a day. But something had changed. She started talking to her friends again, started seeing a therapist, started listening to herself instead of brushing things off. Mark didn't understand. He kept making jokes, kept saying, "What happened to the old Cindy?" But Cindy, she wasn't trying to find the old version anymore. She was building a new one who didn't mistake passive aggression for love. And one morning, she packed her things, left a note that said, "Love doesn't joke about who you are. It protects it." She walked away. No dramatic exits, no shouting, just peace. Have you ever laughed off something that actually hurt? Sometimes the most damaging words are the ones we disguise as jokes. If you've ever questioned your worth in someone else's presence, let this story remind you, you're not too much. You were just in the wrong room. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's encourage each other to embrace our self-worth. Together, let's move from doubt to power, one story at a time.